Ready? Okay. That's what I'm talking about. And a toe touch. Yes. Nailed it. Nailed it. I'm ready for varsity. Sign me up. Okay, today we're going to do our writing reflection. So I'm going to give you a quick overview of how to get to this and what to do with it. You'll get a little bit of an overview as well as a teacher what I'm looking at. So if you're wondering where I'm picking these things we talk about from and why we're learning it, hopefully you have a good idea. It is important you pay attention to that. It's not one of the things where you can just zone out for a while, I promise. As we do some assignments this year, I talked to you about doing some student choice assessments, meaning you're going to be having a lot of say in some of the ways you're assessed. In order to do that, when it comes to some of the skills assessments, I'm just going to give you the standard. All right, I'm going to give you the standard with the objectives, saying that like this is what you're supposed to be able to demonstrate, and then you're going to write a proposal to me on this is how I'm going to demonstrate that to you. All right, in order for that to happen, you're going to need to be able to understand it, or at least understand how I'm looking at these. Okay, so let's go ahead and start here. I'll show you a quick overview of this. You may have time to finish the reflection today. You might need time tomorrow. I'll have computers and technology all week as we work on our writing, on the assessment for this, because we're going to write a narrative. All right, so you should have received yours back, all right, and the goal was, there you go. You should have received yours back, and the goal was for you to be able to start a story, learn the different parts of writing, learn a bunch of strategies and techniques for developing narrative writing, and then see how your classmates took your story and ran with it. What did they do? Now, some of your classmates probably have a slam dunk up there. Some of them probably dunked you, all right, and so you'll get an idea as you get those back, all right. For this, let's go to classroom to get started, and I had you guys sign into that already. When we do things like this, okay, it'll go under classwork. So we have the stream, and you see Monday's brief overview of lesson plans on there. Okay, so for week 3, and then if you go up here to classwork, you'll see where I can put lesson plans, where I can put resources or assignments. This is not due until tomorrow at midnight. So anytime before midnight tomorrow, you'll be good. It'll take you about 5, maybe 10 minutes at the most. So it's not going to take you that long. And again, you may have time to finish today. You might need until tomorrow. There are 2 things on here, narrative standard and benchmarks. You'll want to open that. And then you're also going to want to open the chain narrative writing reflection. So a really important part of learning to help you retain it isn't just learn a bunch of facts, tell it back to me, go on the next thing, and then don't worry about it again until we get to midterm. That doesn't help you retain what you learned. Reflection is very important. All right, I don't care if it's a skill, something you need to learn, something you need to show other people, or performance. When you're done, you should do some reflection. You should start out with, this was my goal when I started. How well did I do in meeting that goal? And what did I like about it? What didn't I like? Am I coming back to this in the future? If so, what can I do differently next time? That's a really important part of learning. And so in order to do that, we're going to do reflection. If you look at the piece that says chain narrative writing reflection, and then you go to the bottom of the page, under period 6, you should see all of your names in there. Mm-hmm. Okay, so once you do that, this is how we're going to do this. It says first where I struggled. Okay, I want to make this very easy for you. So what we're going to do is we're going to go to the narrative standards. All right, and you can see this is what I'm given right here. All right, so for 11th or 12th grade, this is the narrative strand on my standards. It says students should be able to write narratives to develop real or imagined experiences or events using effective technique, well-chosen details, and well-structured event sequences. Okay, did we write narratives developing real or imagined experiences or events? Did we do that? Yes. Okay, how about, did we talk about using effective techniques when writing? Yeah, we did some lessons. We learned a lot of strategies on that. Details, like in our imagery and exposition and things like that. Remember? Yeah, remember details? And then finally, well-structured event sequences. Do you remember us talking about the different parts of a narrative, how to put them in order, different strategies for using flashback or tieback or going from beginning to end? We talked about the graphic narrative and we drew it on the board. Do we remember this? Yes? No? Yeah. Oh, there we go. Looking for some interaction. So I know if this is sinking in. All right, so that's the standard. And then all these things that say A through E underneath, these are benchmarks, right, that you can do in order to do this standard. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. So let's say you wanted to become better at shooting in basketball. You wanted to be a really efficient scorer or shooter. All right. Well, then underneath it, I could break it down. Form shooting. Shooting on the catch, shooting in the move, shooting off the dribble. I can break it down in all these categories that help us become a better shooter. All right. If my goal is to retire at age 40 with $10 million, that would be my standard. And then underneath of it, I'd have the different benchmarks I could achieve to help me retire at age 40 with $10 million. That'd be fantastic. Yeah. I love teaching, but y'all never see me again. I'm just kidding. You'd see me on TV. All right. As seen on TV. All right, so if you look at the things that you're supposed to be doing or learning how to do, I'll just give you a brief overview. Engage and orient the reader by setting out a problem, situation, or observation. Remember we did that in the introduction? Yes? No? Yep. Okay. Some type of feedback, either talking or thumbs or nodding or anything. Okay. Establishing one or multiple points of view. Okay, we talked about like what point of view you're writing from. Is this personal? Is this the characters? Is this omniscient? Using narrative techniques such as dialogue, pacing, and description. Remember doing this?
Yes.
Yep. Using techniques to sequence events so they build on one another to create a whole and toward a particular tone or outcome. Right, do you remember this? Yeah, when we talked about developing short and long narratives, or short and long, why am I drawing a blank? Rising actions, thank you. It'd help if I use the right term. Short and long rising actions. Using precise words and phrases, telling details in sensory language. So language that appeals to our senses. Remember this? Okay. Providing a conclusion that follows from and reflects on what is experienced, observed, or resolved over the course of the narrative. And that was our strategies that we gave. We had 11 of them that were good ones, 5 to avoid. We started with, I learned something today. All right, so we did that. All right, so what I want you to do, instead of rewriting this whole thing, when you look over at this reflection, and it says where I struggled, instead of writing a bunch of stuff out, okay, put the letter here. Okay, so put the letter. So if you struggled engaging and orienting the reader by setting out a problem, or you struggled with coming up with that idea to get us started and really engage the reader, you just put letter A. If you struggled understanding narrative techniques such as dialogue, pacing, description, reflection, if you had a hard time understanding those and how to write those, put letter B. If you had a difficult time, with the conclusion and those strategies, put letter E. Put where you struggled. If you didn't struggle, okay, if you didn't struggle on anything, pick something that you think out of A through E that you didn't do as well as the others. All right, so I'm looking for an A through E there. Same thing on where I did well. Okay, so wherever you did something well, pick a letter that you did well and put it in there, maybe 2. All right, and what I'm going to do with this is I'm going to look back through. I'll pull up first period so you can see how this should look. So I'm going to look back through and see where were students struggling the most. Okay, what did they do successfully the most? And what that will help me do is pick some strategies and things and lessons to teach as we go through writing your narrative assessment to go back over those things. What I don't want to do is I don't want to spend a lot of time reteaching something you don't need me to teach, right? And then skipping past something where you really need me to reteach that or give you some strategies. And that'll give me some really good instant feedback on where you are as students and what you need. If I don't recover what you need me to recover, I'm going to have videos of those on Classroom, so you can just pull it up, put your earbuds in, and you can look at the lesson you need to see. So that's how that'll work. Activity wins, things that you thought went well. Okay, so things you thought went well, either with the activity, you like this about this activity, or things that just went well with it, that I can incorporate into another activity or maybe do again next year. Activity losses or suggestions, where did I take an L, or where did our classmates take an L in this activity? What were things that maybe didn't go well? If you have a suggestion, put it in there. I know for me, my personal one is I didn't like the way collecting them with folders, trying to keep track of them, get them back to you. I thought that for me that was a lot of keeping track of all kinds of random stuff, and I had a hard time getting it back to the right people. There's got to be a way to make that go more smoothly next time. So if you have a suggestion how I can do that, I'd love to have a suggestion See if you can maybe help me figure out how to make that a little more seamless. Finally, what did you learn? Be honest. Okay, be honest here. You got to give me something I can work with. Don't put, what did I learn that I'm terrible at writing narratives? Okay, that doesn't give me anything I can work with. All right, what did I learn? I learned that I really struggle coming up with ideas. I learned that I learned a lot about imagery that I previously was unaware of. I learned how to build toward the climax by using long and short rising actions. So whatever you learned, I want something specific. If you didn't learn at all, tell me why, and be honest with this. If you didn't learn and it was because you missed 4 days, tell me I didn't learn very much because I missed 4 days and haven't had a chance to go back and look at it. I didn't learn because you were going really quickly and I have a hard time finding the resources online. I didn't learn because, to be honest, I just really didn't try on this. I don't care. Be honest with me. I'm not taking points off for that. I just want to have an honest conversation, because if you told me you learned everything and it was all perfect and it was all great and it really wasn't, I have no way of helping you because I think you learned it. So I need that honesty from you when we get to that part. All right, do you have any questions for me what we're doing with this? Okay, so I'm going to give you the rest of the period to work on this. Again, I will have computers tomorrow, so if you need time to finish tomorrow, which some of you will, I'll have computers in the classroom. You can finish on that. I'm going to give you our narrative assignment tomorrow, so you know what to do with this story we're going to be working on. You'll have all week to work on it. I'm going to teach some mini lessons. And then next week, you'll have that whole week to work on it as well. However, I only have the technology guaranteed through this Friday. So next week, as we get into our textbooks and we're reading about the Anglo-Saxons and things like that, if you need more time in the computer lab, you may need to go to Mrs. Hartman's room after school and use hers, or maybe try to schedule getting in before school with a teacher who is going to be here, or make some arrangements to work on this at home on your own that following week. What questions can I answer for you before I wrap this up?
This is what's due today.
Yes, tomorrow night by midnight. Yeah, so if you don't have time to finish in here, you can finish in class tomorrow or on your own. Any other questions? All right, rest of the time here is yours. Nice job today.